For this video, what we're going to do is we're going to insert some shapes into our PowerPoint slide. But we're also going to move, resize, do some layers, and do some great formatting to it. So let's actually have a look at this slide here with a picture of a home. It's not actually my house, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom in a bit. So on the right-hand side, just use the zoom in tool. And I've got a different places I can insert shapes. I can either insert them from the Insert tab on the ribbon, or on the Home tab, I also have a Insert Shape option here. So again, I click on it and I'm presented with a similar set of shapes. Okay, so let's come, and what I'm going to do is I am going to highlight different parts of the house. First of all, I'm going to choose a square and I'm going to insert the front door. I'm going to highlight the front door. I'm also going to insert another shape. It's going to be an arrow. There we go. Perhaps one last shape. Let's insert a star just down at the bottom here, and that's going to allow me to show off what are we going to pretend is my bedroom. There we go. Let's have a look at each shape in turn. So straight away I can resize the shape. So when I select on it, I have the option to change the size and dimensions of it just by dragging. I can also just left click on the mouse and drag the shape anywhere I want. This actual arrow, what I want to do is I actually want to point it at the diagrams. So I click on it and you'll notice that I have a green button there. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to use that to rotate the actual shape. I'm now going to drag it here. And the arrow is a little bit big for me, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to resize it. You'll also notice, if we zoom in a little, that we've got these yellow dot points. This actually allows me to change the internal dimensions of a shape. So for example, on an arrow, I can make the actual arrowhead bigger and smaller. And also this yellow dot allows me just to narrow the tail. There we go. Depending on the shape will depend if those yellow boxes are available. For example, the square is a pretty simple shape, and the arrow though does have that option, and the star also does as well. Let's see what else we can do here. So I actually don't quite like where that is positioned, but moving the mouse I wasn't getting it in the right place, so I can use the arrow keys just to move the arrow a little bit to the right. Excellent. Let's look at formatting. So of course this doesn't make the picture look very pretty, because even though I'm highlighting the front door, I can't see the front door. So I need to change the format of that object. So when I click on it, we have the Format tab visible at the top. I'm going to click on that. I've got different options here. We've got the shape styles that are available. And again, as I hover over each of them, you can see the live preview. But for this example, actually, I want there to be no fill because I want to be able to see behind. So I'm going to click on the shape fill up here, and I'm going to click the no fill option. Suddenly I choose I want to resize a little bit more to focus on the actual front door, but I can really not see that outline, so I need to change the outline, and there's a shape outline icon up here. So I'm going to click on the shape outline. Black looks pretty good, but red really does make it stand out. So I'm going to click on the red. And also what I do is I want to make it thicker. So again, click on the shape outline, and I'm going to adjust the weight. So there we go. That looks really good. Now I'm actually happy with the way I formatted this. You can see the star. I also want to apply a similar sort of formatting. I could do the same steps, or what I can do is I can use the Format Painter. So I'm going to select the square, click Format Painter, and now you can see that the actual mouse has a little paintbrush. And if I click on the star, you can see it's just applied a similar formatting. So Format Painter is a great tool to apply the formatting. Here we go. I'm just going to click on the yellow square. There we go. Now I'm not quite happy with this arrow, so I'm going to click on the arrow. I'm going to go to the format, and I'm going to see what are the different theme styles I have. There we go, I like the shading there. There are other effects that I can still do. Remember, similar to what we did when we looked at pictures, I can put shadow to it. I can put a reflection to the arrow. I can put a healthy glow around it. Yeah, let's have a healthy glow. One of the things you might come across is the layers within PowerPoint. Without realizing it, there are layers. At the very back we have this picture. We then have the shapes put on, and they're layered according to the order that I actually inserted them. If I right click on this picture, I can then have the options of bringing the picture to the front or sending it to the back. Let's bring it to the front, and you can see instantly that the shapes are just behind now. You can see it popping out the red of the star at the back. Well, I want to, of course, send it to the back. You also, though, can just send it a single layer at a time. If you right click and then bring to the front, you can see bring forward. So rather than doing it all the way to the back, I can do it in steps. So I could do it a layer at a time. So just remember, you've got the option to bring shapes to the front, or bring forward, or send them to the back. The final thing we're going to look at is adding text to your shape. Let's see what we're going to do. So I actually have a text box here, but I also have the option of adding text to the actual shape. So I'm going to right click on the shape, and then I'm going to click Edit Text. And I'm going to write the front door. For a number of things that straight away you can see. First of all, the text is upside down. This is because the arrow was originally drawn, remember, the other way up. You can also see that it's not very readable. What can we do to address that? If I right click again and click Format Shape. Format Shape gives me the ability to change even more properties of this particular shape. So I'm going to click on the word text box, and I'm going to change the text direction. If I click on the text direction, I have the option to rotate it or have it stacked. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate all the text 90 degrees, and I'm going to have it centered in the middle, and also I'm going to not wrap the text in the shape. What was happening is, you see, if I click on it, then the shape is actually wrapped according to the size of the actual arrow. If I uncheck, then actually the text itself is not confined to the dimensions of the arrow. And click Close. Now I'm still not completely happy with it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color of the text. So I can just click up here and highlight the black. That allows me to see now more what I'm doing. You can see I've got the option up here of text direction. So perhaps, whereas we did it before through the right click menu, I can come this way. I can click on the More Options, and that takes me back to that text box layout. So you can add text to a shape, but I'm not completely happy with that, to be honest. So we're going to look at another way of doing this. What I'm just going to do is I'm going to delete all of the text that we have put in there, and I'm going to create a new text box. I click on the text box icon, and then I'm going to drag the approximate side, and I'm going to write front door. This is an independent shape, and again I can change the font size. I can just increase it just by using these two buttons here. I can change the particular font it's going to be using. I can move it in the same way of a shape, so it's got all the properties of a shape. And then what I'm actually going to do is I'm then going to group it to this arrow. So if I select this shape, hold down the Shift button, and also select the arrow, I then have both shapes highlighted. I then right click, you can see they're both still selected, and then I press Group. Now this is one complete object, and no matter where I drag it, they will stay together. I can still move the text within that shape object, but I've just grouped these two together, and it gives me a certain amount of formatting control and finer control rather than having the text box within the arrow. You don't just have to group those shapes together. What I might do is then actually group all of these objects together. So I'm going to select all of the shapes, right-click, and then group. It means that now if I try and resize, everything is resizing to the same dimensions. A point worth noting is that if I now try and group it with the picture, I don't actually have that option. That's because this picture behind is a picture, not a shape. So there we go. We've gone through creating shapes. We've moved, we've resized, we've rotated the shapes. We've looked at the layers by bringing each of the shape forward and back. We've added text to the shape. We weren't quite happy with the formatting that was available to us, so then what we did was we created a text box. We grouped that text box to that shape, and then we grouped all of the shapes together. If I do want to ungroup, what I can always do is right-click, group, ungroup. Shapes are very, very powerful in PowerPoint, can really bring alive your presentation, so give it a go.